effectively lead yourself and lead others, then you need to be aware of what those values are. But first, what do we mean by value? Well, value denotes a degree of importance. In monetary terms, we set a value on something by how much we're willing to pay for a product or service. In moral terms, a value is an ideal that we give a high degree of importance to. Values are the moral code that guide us, and the priorities that motivate according to other people's principles and priorities.
Exactly.
So how do you assess your core values? You can do an assessment of your own values by examining different aspects of your life and for looking at trends. In my experience, it's good to start with examining our personal stories, our priorities, passions, and principles. So let's look at each of those in turn. Personal stories. One of the most instructive ways you can examine your character and values is by looking at the stories in your life. Have a think about, when have you been most happy? Which achievement or experience are you most proud of? What has been your biggest success? What has been your biggest failure? What do you fear most? Which thing in your past are you most ashamed of? When reflecting on a personal story, you can analyse further by asking, what was the situation? What role did you have to play and what did you do? And then what was the underlying principle that made this a good or bad experience? Next, let's look at priorities. We've already seen that values and priorities are linked. One simple and effective way to examine our priorities is to see how we use our resources. Simply put, we invest our time and money in what we value. So for money, think about, where does your cash go? Money provides a very tangible expression of what we prioritise. Have a look at your bank account and credit card bills and examine where your money goes. What do you choose to spend more or less on? Time is a truly finite resource. How you spend your time will give you a good indication of what you really value. Take a look at your diary or think back and work out the amount of time that goes to various activities each day and each week. Next, we look at passions. Our passions are the things that drive us emotionally. Our passions either draw us towards or away from something or someone. Often we don't realise these thoughts and they go unnoticed.
And look, that's the good information that you need in your life.
But if you reflect on your thoughts and your dreams, beliefs and influences, then you'll gain a deeper understanding.
Oh snap, I didn't even mean to have that up. Hey, welcome to another episode of Expansion Pack. Hold on, let me flip this out. Yeah, as you can see, I've been working all weekend. Let me get this scene right. I was watching Streamer U all weekend. I don't know about y'all, but I thoroughly enjoyed myself. I wish I had like a drop, round of applause drop to run on y'all for that. I'd be like, drop the bombs, all that good stuff. Hey, y'all too. Do y'all remember what Hey, don't be rude about it then. Oh, all right, I got it. Y'all stop being rude to one another. All right, now let's get it popping. Let's get our motivation in here for the day, people. My people. And then we're going to go from there. I hope y'all feeling good, looking good, feeling good. You feel me? Ella, shut that door. Let's get y'all some motivation. Motivation for my mans out there. Motivation for men. Turn it down some, E. Motivation for men. For Mindful Mondays. Hey, by the way, actually, our topic for today is we ain't getting it together. Are we getting it together? Let me make sure we ain't just getting it together, because I think that's what the topic is for today. Let me look. Yeah, we getting it together. I thought we did this one already. I didn't change it. Yeah, because this is say. Yep. Well, I could have sworn I did an episode about getting it together. I don't know why I reset my title. That's so crazy though. Let me see what went out on Facebook. I gotta check this because This ain't gonna sit well with me, but I'm gonna run some motivation for y'all real quick as I do that, and let's get it together. This is motivation for men. Um, I want something that's like more so quick. Oh, oh, why have I not seen this before? All right, let's go, y'all. Yes. Right. Pick them up. Oh my gosh. Yes, Lord. Exactly. Exactly. Pick them up. Exactly. Pick them up. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Oh, boy. He picked. Oh my gosh. Yes, Lord. I hope y'all listening. I ain't sent out no links neither. Yes. That's right. That's right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah. Yes, sir. That's right. NBA. Bruh, y'all heard none of this.
But if
Bruh,
you lose,
I'm running that all the way back. I don't care. Y'all heard none
my
of that.
college career was over.
And I'm mad.
I got offered a job to become a hospital administrator.
I cannot believe I had it on.
2-year program, $75,000 job. And right before I took the job, my daddy called me on the phone. Let me tell you about my daddy. When I was a little boy, my daddy would always pick me up. When he came home from work, he picked me up. When he saw me in the nursery after church, he picked me up. No matter how long he worked, no matter how tired he was, my daddy would always pick me up. So when I had my kids, I would always pick up my kids. When I got home, sometimes I was tired. They have a bottle in one hand, and they just lifted up the other hand, and they knew what daddy was supposed to do. My job was to pick them up. This is a spiritual interaction. When you pick up a child, it is a spiritual transaction. When you pick up a child, you change their perspective. When you pick up a child, all of a sudden they can see the world the way you see it. I don't care what your children have done, there is nothing they can do for you to stop picking them up. Well, my daughter's a drug addict, I don't care, pick her up. My son messes up. I don't care. Pick him up. I don't care. You pick them up. That is your job, mama. That is your job, daddy. That is your job, grandma. That is your job, granddad. Your number one job is to pick them up and change their perspective. My saddest day, one day, my daddy looked at me and he said, boy, you too big. I can't pick you up anymore. But when he couldn't pick me up physically, he would pick me up emotionally. He would pick me up spiritually. I had a great dad because he would always pick me up. He would always change my perspective. So my daddy called me on the phone, he asked me a question. He said, son, you had a tough year, what's next? I said, Dad, I'm gonna be a hospital administrator. He said, not bad, but let me ask you a question, son. Do you believe you're an NBA player? You can't outproduce your self-image, son. If you don't think so, go take the job. But if you believe you're an NBA player, go for it. My dad had the self-control and discipline and waited for my answer. And my answer was yes. You're right, Dad. I can't work the rest of my life. But playing in the NBA is a dream I've had ever since I was a little boy. He said, go for it, son. I limped back into my coach's office with a cast on my foot. I said, Coach, what do I need to do to play in the NBA? I asked that question 4 years in a row. With tears in his eyes, he said, son, when I recruited you, I heard you was a mama's boy. But I'm here to tell you, you're just like your daddy. But what do I need to do to play in the NBA? He said, do two things you can play in the NBA. Lose 20 pounds and shoot a three-point shot with range, you can play in the NBA. I think you should be a motivational speaker, son, but if you lose 20 pounds and shoot the three-point shot with range, you can play in the NBA. I lost 20 pounds, and every day I would shoot 500 shots a day, every single day. I got invited to training camp with the Dallas Mavericks, and not only did I make the team, I became the first ever undrafted rookie free agent in the history of the Dallas Mavericks to start opening night. Could you imagine what was going through my mind? I had not started a basketball game since high school. I got to the...
We just in here right now getting the motivation. You can't hear it right now, but I'm gonna be speaking in a couple seconds. It's almost over. And chill with me, you know what I'm saying?
Thank you for making sure I was always home when the street lights came on.
That's right.
Thank you for making sure I could always hear your voice. Thank you for always changing my perspective. I know what it feels like to sit on a bench. I know what it feels like to get knocked down.
Yes, sir.
I know what it feels like to have a hope and a dream, and nobody believes in it but a few people. Go for your dreams. Don't live life with regrets. Go for your dreams. Don't live life with regrets. Go for your dreams. Don't live life with regrets. I could always hear my daddy's voice. You have children, you have grandchildren. Can your children and grandchildren hear your voice? I could always hear my daddy's voice. He would say, go out, have a good time, play with your friends, but don't let the street lights beat you home.
Woo.
When I started my motivational speaking business, I called my daddy and said, Daddy, I'm gonna be a motivational speaker. He said, son, you think you can be successful at it? I said, yes, sir. You think you can make a lot of money at it? I said, yes, sir. He says, go for it.
That's right.
That's all my daddy said to me was go for it. So when I think about life, when I think about my goals, one thing he did for me as a father is to make sure I was always where I was supposed to be. He would have me write my goals down, and he would check in periodically, basically asking me, Walter, where are you supposed to be? Fathers, do you realize how powerful that is?
It is.
If you
Okay.
ask that question of the kids, what are your goals? What are your future? Who do you want to be when you grow up? And every now and then check in by asking a simple question. Where are you supposed to be? The bell is ringing, and I came to ring your bell and ask you the question,
Yes,
Father. Where are
Yes,
you
sir.
supposed to be? And ask that question to your children.
Yes, sir.
Where are you supposed to be? And don't you quit
Yes, sir.
until you're number one.
Yes, sir. You know, it's great. It's so good. It's so good because as I'm sitting there listening, I'm asking myself, am I doing these things? You know, you kind of give yourself a checklist. Are you doing this? Are you doing that? And as I'm sitting there listening to that, I'm saying to myself, that's exactly what I do. Hey, where you supposed to be at? What you supposed to be doing? What I tell you to do? How are you supposed to be moving right now at this moment? And that right there is profound. Checking in with your kids. All right. So you and Dan over there. Hey, you and Dan over there. Gonna have to figure out something other than screaming across the room. All right. So now let's get into our topic for the day. We just getting it together. So it was a long weekend. You know what I'm saying? It was a long weekend. Everybody enjoyed themselves. Everybody had some time off, at least a little bit of time off, or people around you had time off, so you got to enjoy yourself with them. So let's get it back together, get our mind back right, get back in the frame of mind of what we need to do for our lives, because you don't want to get too far off your goals. So let's see something. Bouncing back after a long weekend. Let me see. Let's see what they got for me. I don't want to see the diet and workout plan. Hey, let's check this out. I need this.
Want to get rid of this visceral fat? Check this out.
This is how to get in shape fast.
What is the best? So you've had an absolute shocker, a stinker, a show of a performance. What happens next? Well, usually it's frustration, the self-doubt creeping in, and the fear that maybe you're not as good as you thought you were. You replay every mistake in your head, and suddenly it feels like the next game is already lost before it even starts. Your confidence is at rock bottom, and this one howler ends up being the ignition point for a blast of terrible performances in the coming weeks. But it doesn't have to be this way. In this video, I'm going to share a simple but incredibly powerful technique that I use with pro athletes, one that helps them detach instantly from a poor performance and walk into their next game with unshakable confidence. So let's get started. Look, as an athlete, bad performances are inevitable. No matter how talented, disciplined, or experienced you are, they will happen at some point. Maybe it's the pressure of the moment, the conditions on the day, or worst of all, no clear reason at all. You wake up, you prepare as usual, but for some reason, you just don't show up when it counts. This is actually lesson 36 from my free guide, Winning Thoughts. So if you want 49 other lessons that will help you become a peak performer, then check out the link below. Anyway, no matter if there is or isn't an obvious reason for a bad performance, here's where most athletes fall into a trap. They take it to heart. They start replaying that bad pass, that missed chance, or that error over and over again. It's like carrying a heavy bag after a hike. You're exhausted, but instead of dropping it, you strap it on even tighter and keep on going. The weight of those mistakes starts pulling your confidence way down. The problem isn't the bad performance itself. It's the attention that you give to it afterwards. You let it get in your head, questioning your abilities, your preparation, and even your place in the sport. And by the time the next game comes around, you're not focused on performing. You're focused on not making another mistake. And we all know where that leads to. Even more mistakes. But there is a way out, a way to drop the baggage and get back to playing with freedom and confidence. And what is this? Well, it's a secret weapon I use with athletes to bounce back. It's called career highlights. Next performance, revisit these highlights. Watch the clips if you have them, or relive them through visualization. Close your eyes and replay these moments in as much detail as you can. The sounds, the crowd, the feeling of executing skills